Capcom fighting games. Pretty much the lifeblood of the majority of fighting game communities. Now, there's a lot of other fighting games that share a similar interest to the stuff that I like, but we all can kind of agree that when it comes to a lot of Capcom fighting games, it produces a lot of interest and a lot of us get really excited. What you're watching is an old-school Capcom game that was only released on the Sega Dreamcast. Project Justice, the sequel to Rival Schools from the PlayStation 1, is an insane Capcom fighting game, along with a ton of other insane Capcom fighting games that were produced around the early 2000s and late 90s. However, there was a huge breaking period for Capcom and they didn't make fighting games for a very long time, until Street Fighter 4. Now, I won't get into the history lesson with you guys, but as of late, Capcom has kind of taken a little bit of a break when it comes to producing fighting games. They had this huge string of games that came out around the late 2011 to 2012 where there was just way too many, way too fast, and they were kind of falling into their old ways of producing too much too quick, and people did not have enough money to buy all the stuff that they were pushing onto all the consumers. Now, I can understand, Ultimate Marvel 3 came out freaking 7 months after Marvel vs. Capcom 3, and as happy as I was that it did come out, that's way too fast. Games like Street Fighter Cross Tekken did receive free upgrades in the long run, but for the most part, Capcom, as far as its fighting game presence, has been fairly absent for almost the past 2 years. Kinda crazy to think that it's like their mainstay. In my opinion, Resident Evil and fighting games is kind of what Capcom is all about. But thank God there has been some new recent information as well as rumors. If you guys have been following this channel, you know that over the past couple of months, Yoshinori Ono, which is one of the top executives and producers at Capcom, has talked about him working on a Capcom fighting game. There is a new one coming out, and it is not Ultra Street Fighter 4. It is something different, they're hiring people for it, and we've made videos about it before. However, there is a big one coming out later next year, and potentially the final iteration of the Street Fighter 4 series, which is one of the most updated Capcom fighting games ever over the past 5 years with Ultra Street Fighter 4, and I've been doing quite a bit of coverage on that as well. But the big thing that's happened over the past few days, and in a Japanese gaming magazine with an interview with one of the producers at Capcom, it was the director of the second development team at Capcom and like the head of the studio, and was talking about their presence in 2014, how there's a lot of unannounced titles coming out, and this is essentially confirmation of what all of us want. That Capcom is indeed working on fighting games that will come out or be revealed at least in 2014. And the only issue is that it's hard to understand whether or not Ultra Street Fighter 4 is what they're talking about, although I do believe it is something different. More specifically, he goes on to say the fact that in 2014 they have a large amount of unannounced titles that no one has seen before that are going to be coming out in 2014, and some that'll actually surprise the readers a lot, and that was quote-unquote, which is good news to us. The best thing about this is the fact that later on in this interview, he also said that Capcom fans should look forward to next year because the company intends to reaffirm its presence in the fighting game genre. Thank freaking God. I know they've had a lot of flack from Street Fighter Cross Tekken and some business practices with gems and stuff like that and releasing fighting games too fast, but come on guys, Capcom fighting games are your mainstay. We want to see Street Fighter V, we want to see updates to classic series, we would like to see some things done with newer games. There's been a lot of HD ports, there was a huge amount of up-res and HD ports of classic Capcom games, and that's freaking fantastic. But I think we're looking for something new, something unique and different. We all know I want Capcom All-Stars. I highly doubt it's going to happen, but there is something definitely in the works now, and we can at least be happy that 2014 is going to be full of a Capcom fighting game of some kind. At least it's Ultra Street Fighter 4, and I can't wait to see what else they're working on. Let me know what you guys think about this in the comments. Based off this information, do you think this is practically confirmation that, yep, we're getting new Capcom fighting games in 2014? And what do you actually think they are going to be? Thank you all very much for watching. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing, as I do a huge variety of coverage on a multitude of fighting games, and not just Capcom ones, but they do hold a special place in my heart. My name is Maximilian, and I will see you guys next time as soon as more news and information is available.